So in my case, the first stage was I had the cold, just a common cold. My nose was stuffy. I had ear problems, sinus problems, that sort of thing.
I mean, it feels physically, I don't have any symptoms. I would have never known had I not been randomly chosen.
Okay.
Just because I marked that I take, Advil on occasion.
So not even feverish, not even coughish particularly? Nothing unusual, Rebecca?
No, I mean, not really. We
后来慢慢的烧得高了，最高的时候达到39.4度，有时39度，有时38.9度，所以发烧是最狠的。
You get better before you get worse. So in my case, the first stage was I had the cold, just a common cold. My nose was stuffy. I had ear problems, sinus problems, that sort of thing. But then you get better before you get worse. So I was getting better, and that's when I got hit with the flu. Now, I've had the flu half a dozen times, and this was probably the worst I've felt with that. It really was quite bad. It wasn't life-threatening, but I did feel terrible. With the flu, I was stuck in bed. I had a headache. I just generally feeling unwell. I was getting better from the flu, and that's when I got hit with pneumonia. Now the pneumonia, I've never had that before, so that was quite serious for me, and that's the point I went to hospital. Yeah, so pneumonia, it feels like you've only got 20% of your lungs working. You can't take a full breath like you need to. If you stand up and go and walk into the kitchen, you're out of breath because you just can't get that breath. It also sounds like you're breathing through a bag. Your breath is very crackly and croaky. It generally is not a fun thing at all, and it can be very, very serious. If you can't breathe, you can't live. And so having that being affected was quite a serious thing.
It's deadly in some cases for people, but it's a big mystery, so everyone's rather fearful of it. To hear that you had, even though exhibiting hardly any symptoms, you had tested positive, what was your reaction to that?
I was really dumbfounded, really, when I heard. I heard on Friday morning, a member of the cruise staff came to my door along with a health official. The cruise staff was there to basically translate the information to me in English that I had tested positive, that I would need to be removed from the ship and go to a hospital locally. My husband would have to stay on the ship and wait out his quarantine. And I would be taken within a couple of hours to do all of this. So it was definitely a whirlwind. I was completely shocked. You just never think that something like this is going to happen to you, let alone, on vacation that was supposed to be amazing. So basically they're just monitoring me. So monitoring my temperature multiple times a day, blood pressure, pulse, and listening to my lungs. Other than that, I've not received any additional treatment, no IV fluids, no IV medications, or other oral medications to treat, any sort of a flu or cold symptom. So basically, I'm just in the isolation, so not to pass it along to anyone else. Right now, I'm waiting. I have to wait 14 days from when I was first tested for an additional test. And so that has to be done twice, so 12 hours apart. Once those tests come back clear, then I can be released from the hospital to go home. Or reunite with my husband and then go home. And then we'll have flights arranged in some capacity to head back to the States.
是发烧是最狠的。
发了多久啊
？4天。
怎么给您治疗啊？
多亏我们赵教授，他一开始一说我是这个肺炎的话，大家马上要我吃那个抗病毒的药，口服的，是吧？第二个，他马上就说你赶快上呼吸机，说我呼吸机上了蛮早，
什么时候上的呼吸机？
一到这个呼吸内科就上呼吸机了。有一天半夜把我吓得不得了，那个呼吸机那个风好大好大，像刮台风一样，我简直是受不了。
然后后来又是怎么治疗的？
上激素、吸氧。
您害怕不害怕？
开始有点害怕，后来慢慢不烧了，我就不害怕。你假如说情绪不好、免疫力差，那肯定就受影响，对不对？所以我从来没有担心过这个。
医生有没有跟您讲，您现在是病愈出院了，但是您是不是还是一个可以传染给别人的病毒携带者呀？
不是，因为我总是咽拭培养总是阴性的，而且隔离已经要20多天了，所以隔离期也过了。但是的话呢，我还是不放心，跟我们医院联系了。当我出院回家的上电梯，我说你跟手把它消毒一下，他们等到在那里。
那您家人怎么办呢？
他一直戴口罩。
那您回家以后要跟家人一起吃饭的呀，那怎么办？
不会，我单独吃。
您经历过这一遭，自己有什么感受没有啊？
大难不死，必有后福吧。
那您今天回家以后，准备怎么庆祝一下啊？
哎呀，无所谓啊，不存在庆祝的问题，回家就是好。
My wife was ill. She got ill about 5 or 6 days after she got back from Wuhan, and I ended up taking her to the hospital 2 days after she started feeling symptoms. And then after my wife's test results came back positive, they asked me to be tested, and they didn't tell me to do anything other than my normal activity. So I continued to work, and then 5 days after that, after I got tested, I was found to be positive. I came in contact with people in our main office, and it was just different. I mean, I didn't know I was sick, and so I came in contact with those people, and then that night I flew back to Chicago, and I went right back to work.
So my partner Sarah, she was not in contact with my father, so she was okay to go into the hospital. They were just following their procedures. So when I drove them to the hospital, they took her and Kaya out of the car and told me to stay in and go home. That was the hardest part of everything for me. I was also already worried about my dad, you know. The people that have the hardest part with this coronavirus are going to be the elderly and infants. And in that moment, I was worrying about both. So it was very hard to get through that part, but at the time, you have to be strong for your family.
Events took a dramatic turn when Tom's toddler grandson, Kai, ran a high fever.
That scared me tremendously. I love that little guy. It would never do anything to turn it.
When you found out that Kai didn't test positive for the coronavirus, try and sum up your feelings at that point.
Oh my gosh, I was so excited. I mean, pounding on the glass window, hey, we can go. Just call the CDC. They called us already. Get in touch with whoever you need to. We're ready to go home. It was a really tough stay, and leaving was so happy. I mean, just so happy.
Yeah, my advice would be to have a lot of things that will keep you entertained. Take up a hobby, learn a language. I would also advise that people don't panic. Panic doesn't help anybody. If there is an isolation crisis where everybody has to be isolated, they shouldn't think about themselves, but think about other people. If you are infected, don't go out, don't infect other people, stay at home, not because it's uncomfortable, but to protect